What up, YouTube fam? It's your man Logician back with another hot one. And this video is about another very interesting dynamic of the relationship between men and women, and that's women being intimidated by intelligent men. And this is something that I've come across earlier this year. Well, actually in the last year, maybe year and a half. And I'm 28 years old, and what made me think about it is that when I was younger, between the ages of like 15 and maybe 21, women chased me all the time. Women pursued me all the time, no matter where I went. You know, women really were really aggressive in pursuing me for romantic, just for a relationship. I had women tell me that they were in love with me, women I barely knew. Women wanted to marry me. I think a lot of them just, a lot of women did just want to have sex with me or whatever. So women really pursued me, between like the ages of maybe 14, 15, and 21. And after the age of 21, I ended up dealing with a situation where I had to, almost had a nervous breakdown. And I was in really bad shape, and I didn't get any professional help because I didn't really know what was happening to me. But make a long story short, I spent the next 3 years basically recovering. But in that time, all I did was like, I had to literally rebuild my whole life, my belief systems, my value systems, what I thought, my whole view of reality. I had to literally rebuild, mentally and spiritually. So I started studying a lot. I started studying, whatever I could to understand about the world around me. So I ended up reading a few, like, good 2,000-3,000 books. Anything I can learn from anybody I can talk to that can help me understand of what the world was really about. I engaged in that, and I engaged in a heavy program of mental and spiritual development. So between the ages of like 21 and maybe 24, the ages of 22 and like 25, 26, this was my lifestyle. Entertainment was very, I quit watching TV, I didn't go out, I didn't really have too many friends or nothing like that. I was really kind of introverted. So anyway, what happened is that over the last couple of years, during that time, I should say, I didn't pay attention to women at all. I just, tried to recover and tried to make sure that I was never in that position again in my life. So I worked really hard at that. So after I kind of emerged from that area of my life a couple of years ago, I started noticing that number one, that span of my life was I had a lot of growth spiritually and mentally, just expansion of my consciousness and stuff like that. So I started, noticing that women didn't react to me the same way. Like women weren't pursuing me, the same way like they did when I was younger. Now I was about physically the same size, about 175 pounds. I was about the same size, so physically I looked the same. The only difference is that I have a beard now. When I was younger, I didn't. So physically, still wore glasses. It was kind of the same thing. And I started wondering, I said, well, how come, women don't, it wasn't really a big deal, but it just was curious to me. So eventually what I ended up realizing or starting to question is that women seem to be more hesitant to approach me. Most women are anyway, but for some reason there's just a larger amount of women just approach me anyway when I was younger, but that wasn't even happening. And I started saying, well, am I, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with me or whatever? And what I started kind of realizing was that women were still attracted to me, but it was something about me that made women seem to be really hesitant to react, and it wasn't that they weren't attracted to me, but it was something else. So eventually I figured out what it was I kind of figured out what it was after talking to some other people, was that women were still attracted to me, but I was intimidating to them, right? Sort of a hyper attraction, almost. You know what I mean? As a man, you get the same thing. Is sometimes you see a woman that's so fine, it's like something that unreal off of a movie screen or something. So you get that little initial tenseness about you. And so I figured, okay, well, this is what's happening. And what happened was, in between that time, I was like 22 and 27 years old, 26 or whatever. I went into a lot of different practices of consciousness, and energy practices and stuff like that. I started studying Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, all that kind of stuff, and learning more about the universe and how the mind is connected with matter and energy and all this other kind of stuff. I was deep into that stuff. I went deep. So I noticed women were still attracted to me, but it was something else that kind of made them hesitant. So talk to these other brothers on YouTube. I came to the conclusion that I wasn't the only one this was happening to. Well, a lot of men on YouTube are saying that, a truly intelligent, conscious man is usually intimidating to a woman. Okay, most men aren't. I'll be the first one to admit, a lot of guys are pretty pathetic. When it comes to being intelligent. I think that has a lot to do with our society too. We don't want men to be intelligent, so we don't encourage men to do the same things like the founding fathers did, studying Greek and Latin and all the different mathematics and stuff like that, philosophy. But a lot of guys, admittedly, probably are very intimidating to women. And I can understand why a lot of women feel like they're smarter than men. You got a lot of guys in school that cheat off of girls all the time, stuff like that. That's really the school system's fault for being so messed up. But women, when they seem to come across an intelligent man, a really intelligent, conscious man, seem to kind of freeze up. And I think there are several reasons for that. And I think that this should be talked about more often because women have a lot of complaints about men, but I think that they end up ignoring men who they are intimidated by for certain reasons. And this contributes to a lot of why a lot of women are single and say that they can't find a good man or a decent guy. So I'm going to talk about that on part 2. Y'all see me there.